Hi, thank you for watching my channel today. My name's Sarah and my channel is called Your True Shelf. As you can hear, I've still got a cold, but it's significantly better than it was last time I recorded, so that's good. So today I'm filming a very belated June wrap up. I just haven't had a chance to film it really because I've been doing my kind of halfway point of the year videos and haven't had a chance to film the wrap up. I am in the middle of making a chilli, which is currently cooking. It smells really nice, and I'm desperate to go and finish my book Waterfalls of Stars, which I'm about to finish, and I'm trying to squeeze all that into nap time, but it's not going to happen. So anyway, so without further ado, I'll crack on and tell you about the 4 books that I read in the month of June. So the first one is one that I picked out my TBR jar for my TBR in May, I think, and I've still only read this one, but the others are still, they're still about, so they are still going to be read. I've just had other commitments, and that is Eleanor Oliphant is Completely Fine by Gail Honeyman. So I'm one of the last people in the world to read this book. It has so much buzz last year, and I did give it 5 stars. Initially I gave it 4 stars, and then I upped it to 5. It wasn't one of my books of the year, but I did really enjoy it. For anybody who doesn't know, it's basically about a lady called Eleanor Oliphant who is in her 20s, who has had a very difficult life, who she works in an office job, but she's worked in for a long time. She's a creature of habit. She's very kind of introverted. And she also struggles with like social interaction and social cues and things like that. And one day there's an event that happens in her life which affects her and another person, and then it kind of starts a change in her life for the better. A difficult change, but overall for the better, where it starts kind of breaking her open, basically. So that's the premise of the book. The writing is really good, really easy to read, but well written. The characters are very believable. The dialogue is very believable. I could really picture the characters. I could, in my head, see what they looked like and everything, and how they behaved. And yeah, and I was really kind of endeared to all of them as well. I understand that Reese Witherspoon's bought the rights to make this into a film, so it'll be really interesting. And I hope it's still set in Scotland and it's not changed to America. But it'll be really interesting to see who's cast in the roles, and I would love to watch that at the cinema. The next book that I read, I was then doing a couple of buddy reads, and I just needed a little book that I could read before I started the buddy reads, and this book is one that I've had for quite a long time. I got sent it for review for a magazine that I was working on for a little while, but I never read it yet. And that is Stories from a Country Practice by Dr. Neville Silverston. So this was, just remind myself when it's set. So it's basically his memoirs, but he's calling himself by a different name, and that's never explained. When you read a bit about his life on the back of the book, it's definitely him, because he qualified from the same place in the same year and worked in the same place. So he qualified in 1954, so it's his time as a GP in the sort of 50s, 60s and 70s. And it's all set around different patient anecdotes, and it's only a short book, so it's 100 pages. I read it in 2 sittings. I absolutely couldn't stop reading it. It's very funny, and it's kind of so the GPs who retired sort of early on in my GP career are quite similar in ways to him, and some of the stories that I've heard, it sort of it can conjure up what it was like to be a GP that long ago, and so different to now, so different. The stories are really funny. Like my favourite story, just a little clip from a story which I think is so funny. He has a patient who every time he sees her, she gives him a little white paper bag with some Brazil nuts in, And he says to her, like, you really don't need to keep giving me Brazil nuts every time I see you. It's unnecessary. And she says, oh no, it's fine. My brother gives them to me, and then I give them to you. And he says, well, why does your brother keep buying you Brazil nuts? Because you haven't got any teeth. And she said, oh, because when he gives them to me, they're chocolate-coated Brazil nuts. I was like, oh, that's so disgusting. That is so the kind of thing that I can envisage happening in real life. And there's lots of stories in here where, because I worked before in a very rural practice, which probably hadn't changed massively over time. Obviously, the rules and regulations and the hoops we have to jump through have changed, and the systems changed. But I should think it's kind of quite similar to how it was. And weird things happen when you work in the country. I got bit by a parrot once. That's all I need to say. So this is just so lovely. The reason I knocked a star off, and I know it's of its time, but there's quite a lot of sexism in this book. For instance, his wife is sometimes referred to as like the little woman, which made my blood boil quite a lot. It's very much like the man does the job, the woman runs around after him and, answers the phone for him and does all the boring jobs for him that he doesn't want to do. But so I had to knock a point off for that. And there's also like a really uncomfortable story where he is fitting a woman for a cap, like a contraceptive cap. And I just read it, I was just like absolutely cringing. It just felt so awkward. But anyhow, other than those two things, it was just really, really funny and really lovely and reminiscent of days gone by, and whether, I just think anyone would find it funny. So that's that one. The next two that I read were buddy reads. So the first one was one which I read with my friend Hannah, and we discussed it when we met up last week, albeit briefly because we had lots of things to discuss. And that was, again, a book that I'm one of the last people in the world to read, Normal People by Sally Rooney. I've heard nothing but praise, pretty much, for this book on BookTube, and it won the Costa Book of the Year for fiction, and it was longlisted for the Women's Prize this year. So Sally Rooney's first book, Conversation with Friends, I only gave 3 stars because my little cat's appearing in the background, because the characters just frustrated the hell out of me, even though I liked the writing. This book I gave 4 stars to. So this is about, for anyone who doesn't know, 2 characters called Marianne and Connell, set in Ireland, and Connell's mum had him when she was very young, and she is the cleaner for Marianne's family, who are very wealthy. And Marianne comes from a really kind of messed up family with really kind of toxic relationships, and Connell and his mum are really close. And Connell and Marianne have kind of grown up knowing each other because his mum cleans for them. And Connell's very kind of outgoing, and Marianne's quite sort of shy and just, not too sociable, but she does have this kind of I don't care less what people think of me attitude, which is quite nice. And then it talks about sort of their relationship and what happens as they go away to uni together and how roles kind of reverse. So I thought that the characters were very believable, and I really liked her style of writing, and the dialogue between the characters was really good. Like, it didn't feel stilted or false. It felt like they were having these conversations in real life, and you could see, their body language and how they said different things and that. The thing which I just feel like I'm kind of in my life not in a stage where this resonates with me anymore. So sometimes I really like reading things which are set in a time period that I've been through myself, like at university or at school or whatever, and I can relate to them. Like, I was talking about Big Bones, and she's a teenager at school, and I could relate to her. These characters, I just feel like the stuff they're going through and how they react to stuff is a place where I'm kind of like, I've been there, I've done that, I'm not really interested in going back there again, because they have these kind of toxic relationships, and they never really say what they mean, and they kind of, because they don't say what they mean, things don't work out as well as they could have worked out potentially, and they let people take advantage of them and be abusive to them, and they don't think very highly of themselves. And I don't know, I just feel like I've moved on from that in my life now, and so those things just don't resonate with me. So whilst I enjoy the writing and the dialogue and the characters, they just kind of annoy me a bit, because I feel like I have moved on from that stage in my life, and it doesn't hold any nostalgia for me in the way it's written. So I think I'll carry on. You know, I would read Sally Rooney's next work again because I like the writing style, but I wouldn't expect it to blow me away, basically. So that's that one. And then the last one I read was a buddy read with lovely Jo Smith, which I really enjoyed discussing on Voxer every day with her. And that is one we've both had on our TBR for absolutely ages. And because we had it in common, we decided to choose it. And that is The Sisters Brothers by Patrick DeWitt. So this was released in, I reckon it was about 7 or 8 years ago. Let me just see. 2011. And I remember hearing, the reason I bought it was because I heard a lot about it on Books on the Nightstand, which was a wonderful book podcast, which I used to listen to every week. I bought it in Cambridge on a little weekend away for my birthday in 2011. This is a story about Eli and Charlie's sisters, who are brothers, hence the Sisters Brothers. And it's set in America at the time of the gold rush, and it's the brothers are basically kind of hired hitmen, and they work for a man who gives them sort of missions and people to kind of find and take out. And it's darkly humorous. It reminds me, and it reminded Joe a lot of Tarantino films. So it's got that kind of really dark comedy to it, where something really gruesome will happen, but it's written in a way where it can be quite funny at the same time. And there's even a dentist in it, which really reminded me of Django, because there's that kind of crazy dentist character in Django as well. And it's also, I don't know if you've seen the film Lawless with Tom Hardy. Obviously I've seen it because it's a Tom Hardy film. It kind of reminded me quite a lot of that. They're the kind of characters which the Sisters Brothers are like. And it sort of follows them through their travelling to find somebody called Kermit, what's his name? God, Kermit Warm, is it? Hold on. Kermit Warm. He's the man that they're looking for. And it follows them while they're travelling to meet Kermit and to find him, to kill him, and about all of the violence and killing that goes along on the way, and their kind of drinking and debauchery. And Charlie is very sort of reckless, and Eli is more cautious, and Eli kind of wants to settle down, and Charlie thinks this is like a really stupid idea. And Eli would like to meet a woman and fall in love, and he's the not the better looking brother. So it's just kind of got all these kind of other angles, but it's really, despite what I've said about it, it's not a pacey book. It's quite a slow meandering plot with like moments of action and then quite a lot more slow meandering. So I did enjoy it. I'm not going to keep it. I'm going to give it away now. I gave it 3 stars. I don't think I'd read another Patrick DeWitt book because it's not really my style. I found myself getting a bit bored at times, like I needed something else to happen, and then something would happen and I'd think, oh great, it's picking up, and then it would go back to being quite slow again. It was interesting to learn about the gold rush, and it was interesting how the story ended. It's got a really good ending. I don't know, I don't really have too much more to say about it really. So yeah, just if that sounds like your cup of tea, you probably really like it. It got much higher ratings on Goodreads, and it was also listed for the Booker Prize that year as well. So that is my wrap up of the books I read in June. I finished 2 other books at the very beginning of July, but obviously I can't tell you about those till next month because they won't count this month. So let me know what you read in June, if you can remember, because it was obviously a while ago now. Let me know what you're reading at the moment, what you've been enjoying, and let me know if you've read any of the 4 books or would like to read any of the 4 books that I've talked about today. See you soon, bye!